On the docket tonight, wife and baby killer Scott Peterson. Ted Rollins has the story.
In a unanimous opinion, the California Supreme Court reversed the death sentence against Scott Peterson, saying the trial court made a series of clear and significant errors in jury selection. At issue is the fact that several potential jurors were dismissed solely because they wrote on questionnaires that they were against the death penalty, even though the jurors gave no indication that their views would prevent them from following the law. The court, however, rejected Peterson's claim that he did not receive a fair trial and affirmed his convictions for murder. Scott Peterson was found guilty of murdering his pregnant wife, Lacey, and their unborn son, Connor, in 2003. The case received unprecedented media attention, which Peterson's appellate attorney, Cliff Garner, argued should have resulted in a second change of venue.
Of the nearly 50% that had reached a decision, 98.5% thought he was guilty, and 6 jurors thought he was innocent, out of the 1,000 that had completed questionnaires at the time the change of venue motion was raised.
The Supreme Court rejected that argument, saying the publicity the Peterson trial generated, like the trials of O.J. Simpson and the Manson family, and any other number of so-called trials of the century before them, was intrinsic to the case, not the place. Therefore, the court found that moving the trial to another location a second time would not have solved the problem of excessive publicity. Peterson's other arguments, that jurors should not have been able to stand in his boat during jury deliberations and that cadaver dog evidence was flawed, were also rejected by the court.
All right, folks, we've got 2 dates to tell you about. We've got the resentencing of Scott Peterson. That's on December the 8th. That's coming up. Then this is the big one, the evidentiary hearing on February 25th, 2022, looking at some alleged juror misconduct. That's the hearing where Scott Peterson is hoping to uncover something that will give him a brand new trial. Let's bring back in the think tank on that note where we're talking about a brand new trial. All right, honest answers now. Ready? Does anyone here actually think Scott Peterson is innocent?
Maybe.
Explain, maybe. and here, like reasonable doubt, maybe you could raise it at a new trial, but does anyone here actually think he's innocent? Molly, really? Come on.
Well, here's the thing. Just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, right? So it all depends on how things come out at trial, and the standard for guilt isn't really a question of whether or not you committed an offense, if we want to be technical about it. And so when you have a situation where you get a motion for a new trial and you get to bring in new evidence, I mean, his sister-in-law talks a lot about new evidence that we haven't yet seen. And if you get a different jury, I mean, you never know. Could he be acquitted? Possibly. And that's why I say maybe.
Right. It could be acquitted. But Jen Brandt, do you see anything in this case that smells like innocence?
There's nothing that smells like innocence. I mean, this case, we've heard all the evidence in this case. I don't think there's anything that can come in now that would not make him guilty, despite what Molly says. I think guilty is guilty is guilty. And if he did the crime, then he's got to do the time. So
yeah,
I don't agree with that. I have to go with Molly on this one, Benny, because, look at all the cases. Yeah, but look at all the cases that we have that have been overturned 20, 30 years later because of new evidence that has been discovered. And people thought at the time, oh, these guys are innocent, or this person is guilty, or these people are guilty. And then years later, more evidence comes in, and it turns out that they had the wrong person.
Okay, I just want to ask you one question. Here's a new picture. We've got a new picture of Scott Peterson. It looks like he's actually getting some sun because he's off of death row now. So then maybe they let him outside a little bit into the California sun. The bottom line, there's a couple things here that always stuck in my mind. And the first was he is the one who put himself at the scene of the crime. His alibi ended up being the most powerful evidence against him because when Lacey and Connor, his unborn son, were just missing, his alibi was, it wasn't me. I was fishing over in San Francisco Bay, which is like a couple hours away from Modesto where he lived. And then all of a sudden, when the bodies were found at San Francisco Bay, it wasn't such a great alibi. Like, you told us you were there. Well, why would you go fishing 2.5 hours away in San Francisco Bay, which is like a big body of water, in a little dinghy like that on Christmas Eve. That's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. Didn't even know what he was fishing for. But
yeah, and I mean, I don't know. And then you have this poor family, Lacey's family, that would have to go through all of this again and hear all of this again. I mean,
hopefully
I think that's just terrible.
Hopefully not. But again, I want everyone to get a fair trial. If something really wrong happened, let's do it again and convict him again. That's all. And then
if there's new evidence,
send him to death row again, maybe. So he may get off of death row now, get a new trial, get reconvicted and resentenced to death. So that could happen. All right.